Hello, my literary luminaries, and welcome back to Tuesday Talks. This week's topic is one that I've been putting some thought into because I had to sort of look up what exactly they meant by it, and then had to really think about how I formulated an opinion on the matter. But today's topic is, what are your feelings on comparative blurbs? Now, most of the examples that I ran into aren't necessarily talking about blurbs as I imagine them, because when I think of a blurb, I think of either what's on the dust jacket, like the description of the book, or what's on the back of the book. The problem is, while they may appear in the blurb, a lot of it is just sort of comparative references. So anytime you've seen something like, for fans of this author and that author, you'll love this book. Or, so you'll see, I saw one just recently in the book that I was, throwing things around. I was looking at a book and I can't remember what it said anymore. Oh, for fans of, who was it? Holly Black and someone. But inevitably we've all seen them, if you liked this thing, you'll like my thing. And the problem that I have with comparative blurbs, it's not necessarily that I don't like them, it's that I think they have a tendency to be misleading. Because, you can say, if you liked Ready Player One, all right, now you've got me thinking, this is Ready Player One, this is what the book is about, this is how it goes. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the book that you're indicating is like Ready Player One. And I think that's where it falls down. It's that we have a tendency, just in general, that if we say, if you liked X, Y, and Z, we expect Q, or whatever the final letter is, to be like X, Y, and Z, rather than appealing to the same audience as. And I think that can get people in trouble occasionally. And the problem is that's what I've run into, is that, if you liked, I wish I could come up with an example of one that didn't quite live up to what I had expected. But, if you like Lord of the Rings, you'll like Game of Thrones. Other than their big, both fantasy epics, there's not that much similar. Now, they may appeal to similar people, but the problem is, Song of Ice and Fire is significantly darker than Lord of the Rings, despite the fact that Lord of the Rings isn't exactly sunshine and rainbows all the time. That's my problem with, is that I've been let down too many times by comparative blurbs. People saying like, in the style of this author and that author, new author tells a gripping story. And it does the same thing that too much hype does. Is that all of a sudden you're like, it's cool, all these things that I really enjoy. And then it doesn't quite live up to it. I don't know. I don't even know if I'm making any sense, to be perfectly honest. But I think there's too much potential for being let down. Okay, I found an example. And it's not a perfect one because I haven't read the book that they're comparing this one to, but I have read, the book that I'm going to describe with the comparative blurb. But I know enough people that have read the book they're comparing it to that I can sort of base it here. But the description, I'm using the book, they're called The Good Neighbor. It's a book by A.J. Banner. That I'm going to have a review out for eventually, and I was unimpressed by the book. But it's described on here, it says, named by Harper's Bazaar as a book that could be the next Gone Girl. Now, I haven't read Gone Girl. I meant to read it in one of the reading challenges before. And that's unfortunate because I've heard really, really good things about it. I remember seeing the trailers for the movie. I thought the movie looked really interesting. And so, if you say, okay, this could be the next Gone Girl, I'm expecting something along those lines. And what I got was a really boring thriller, despite the fact that there was nothing tense or thrilling about it, with relatively flat characters. Now, perhaps that is like Gone Girl, and I'm just wrong. But that's the kind of problem I've run into, is that you say, okay, this is going to be the next blah. I then expect it to live up to whatever blah was. And 9 times out of 10, they never do. So I like the concept of comparative blurbs, but I don't necessarily like the way they end up in practice. That's just my opinion. What do you guys think? Have you been led astray by comparative blurbs, or have you had a relatively good time of it? Let me know down in the comments below. I would love to hear your opinion. But as always, until next time, I will see you on Thursday. Bye! I need to find an example. I wish I could breathe. There's so many people that are like, this book is awful. Shows how much I pay attention.